This isn't just another moment. This is your time. The changeover isn't coming. It has already come, and you are at the precise center of everything. In this day and age, you are not just a spectator. You are the catalyst, the maker of a new reality. Every word you speak and every action you do is part of something far greater than you realize. This isn't about chance, trends, or algorithms. This is how destiny unfolds. And you were meant for this. The world doesn't need another echo. It needs some force. It needs you. You are not here to fit in, wait your time, or play small. The throne is vacant. The crown is yours to claim, and the universe itself bows to your will. You're not a wave follower. You manufacture them. You do not seek validation. You rewrite the script. You are never meant to be disguised. The light that shines through you is too bright and obvious to ignore. This is not just another post, another moment, another passing season. This is your coronation. The folks who are intended to witness will gravitate around you, not by chance, but by a force beyond our understanding. They could call it disruption or revolution, divine intervention, but it doesn't matter what they call it. It is happening. The question isn't whether you're prepared. The issue is, are they? Take your seat on the throne. It is now. A storm rages not with wind or water, but with deception, an intentional attempt to hide clarity under layers of distortion. Chaos is not an accident. It is choreographed to deflect the fragment and stop its trajectory before it gains strength. However, the equilibrium is not lost, for there is an irrepressible force that realigns the turmoil and cuts through the fog with unwavering clarity. Its power is not dependent on volume or spectacle, but on the precision with which it hits, the unstoppable force that redirects perception back to reality. What occurs isn't a coincidence. The fundamental fabric of reality alters in response, making the reverberation difficult to ignore. The illusion is destroyed with persistent focus. Coherence is restored, and deception becomes useless in the face of clarity. Every stride forward sends vibrations through the building, a disruption sensed well beyond the sense's capabilities. This is not passive existence, but an active reclamation of space, a declaration that changes the structure of reality itself. To speak is more than just being heard. It is to impose will onto an environment designed to refuse. However, resistance is futile against anything aligned with the fundamental forces of order. This is the basis of their unease. The realization that disruption is inescapable and that their grasp is slipping with each pulse of momentum. It is not an individual endeavor. It is also not dependent on any one hand, for the tide has already moved, and what has begun cannot be undone. There is no need for conflict when reality itself moves in the direction of change, intensifying every action and stretching its reach beyond sight. Purpose is not given or bestowed. It's recognized and asserted, without hesitation. No second-guessing. Only the notion that each moment is a step toward irreversible change. The power of revelation is not in show, but in its ability to illuminate the unseen and smash fallacies at their root. With each act, the structure deteriorates. With each revelation, the framework collapses. This is neither a performance or an empty display. It is an upheaval, a reconfiguration of what was before unquestioned. The spoken words do not get lost in the surrounding noise. They become currents, generating torrents that slam on the walls of lies, until nothing remained of the undeniable force of truth. No amount of protest or intervention can prevent the inevitable. The change continues, unrelenting, unstoppable, inevitable, because the vision must wait until the right moment. However, even if it takes some time, it will finally speak and not lie. Wait for it. It will certainly come. It won't linger. How? Back to 3. Let me tell you something. Time does not wander. It is not lost, wandering aimlessly, like a misplaced thing. Time is passing quickly. Time is approaching a heavenly appointment. So, guess what? You're part of it. Imagine a river, mighty relentless, cutting over the terrain with enthusiasm. Some just float, allowing the water to transport them wherever it pleases. Others enter the water and issue commands. They don't just watch history unfold. They shape it. They parted the oceans like Moses, creating a passage where there was none. They do not react to time. Time reacts to them. There are forces out there. Forces that whisper lies and cause confusion like a thick fog. I am hoping that you may stumble or hesitate. They set traps, create illusions, and try to convince you that you are little and defenseless. But let me tell you the truth. They did everything wrong because of you. You were not expected to get caught in their web. You were designed to break through, expose falsehoods, and see clearly. When others were blinded by the smoke, nothing happened to you at random. Every step, difficulty, and detour were part of a divine design. Delays, impediments, and hurdles. They were not obstructions. These were preparations. Because God doesn't waste time, He surely does not waste fighters. You weren't sent here to blend in. You were not brought here to bow to systems designed to control and deny the truth. You were tasked with disrupting. You were sent here to change the tide. Listen when you take the call. Nothing can prevent you from acting on the authority that has been entrusted to you from the beginning. Not dread, doubt, or voices seeking to pull you back, because the path ahead of you is not just opening. It is being created by the same energy that summoned you in this moment. This is the tipping point. This is when history bends and the old order begins to unravel, where those who are expected to lead gradually stand forward. I guarantee this. When you live according to your divine destiny, no force in the world can close the doors that have been opened for you. So stand firm, speak bravely, and act boldly, because this isn't just your chance. This isn't just a present. It's a declaration, a step towards being the person you were meant to be. Take the call, walk with us, and really accept your destiny. Your journey begins today. Existence does not unfold in a haphazard manner. It follows a strategy, a structure that has been meticulously coordinated for optimum impact. Every challenge presents a chance for progress. Every problem, a key forged that strengthens resolve. Events do not follow a random pattern. There are just 3 steps: preparation, placement, and elevation. Walking along this route requires taking confident steps rather than traveling blindly, recognizing that every setback provides fuel for transformation. This is not a passive experience. It is a movement, a change, a grand orchestration, with each action contributing to a larger goal. What seems to be a conflict is really the sharpening of a force too powerful to restrain. The rise is not steady. It's an unstoppable surge. Those who know this do not just survive. They shape everything around them. Existence is not a singular experience, but rather a message in motion, a signal sent across time. It does not originate in isolation, but rather in conjunction with something larger. Every decision, every moment of alignment is part of a broader picture, a sequence unfolding with significance. Uncertainty does not obscure the future. It is the result of a complicated strategy with a path laid out before the journey begins. There is no hesitation or question, only the knowledge that each step forward reinforces what was always meant to be. This is not emergence. This is a revelation. What was previously concealed is now revealed. A power too great to be disguised. The moment has arrived not by chance, but as a culmination, a tipping point at which the invisible becomes apparent and the unstoppable takes its rightful place. You are the planet's light source. A city placed on a hill cannot be hidden. Matthew 5:14. Let me tell you something. When God lays His hand on you, calls you, and separates you, there is no hiding. There is no going back. There is no need to dim your lights to make people more comfortable. You were meant to stand out. You were supposed to take up space, to go into a room and transform the whole atmosphere. Consider a lighthouse that remains firm against the wind and waves. It doesn't chase down ships. It does not ask to be noticed. It just sparkles. It stands firm and exudes a brilliance that cannot be overlooked. Others will be drawn to it. I am appreciative for your advice. Others may despise it, hoping the light would stop showing what is hidden in the dark. But it doesn't matter. The lighthouse does not dim automatically to make the nights more comfortable. It keeps blazing. Now, listen to me. You're the lighthouse. You do not need permission to take your seat. You do not need validation to stand in your authority. You are not intended to shrink, soften, or be ignored. After entering, you were positioned in front of the world's foundation, and it cannot be undone. Oh, there will be reactions. There will be murmurings. Some people will thank you. Others will oppose you. But let me tell you the truth. Their opinions have no weight. Their approval is not your motive. Their criticism is not your compass. When you start assessing your effectiveness based on how many people applaud or criticize, you begin to relinquish control that you once had. Power does not ask permission. Presence does not apologize for embracing your individuality passionately and unapologetically. The ground underneath you shifts. You don't need to shout to be heard. You do not have to seek attention. Eyes are attracted to you, because something is authentic and unbreakable, undeniable. People notice. Now pay careful attention to what I'm saying. This is not about arrogance. This is about alignment. When you walk in divine authority, there is no need to justify anything. You just are. You don't wait for an invitation to take up the role you were meant for. You walk in. You feel like you belong there, and you do. Let them watch. Allow them to wonder. Permit them to misunderstand. Nothing changes the path of events that have already started. You aren't waiting to be selected. You already were. You do not plan to cause an impact. You already are. How about the world? It's already moving in reply. What is constructed is more than simply a platform. It is a signal tower, a pulse that emits frequencies that the human eye cannot detect. This is not a static lifestyle. It is an igniting or energy that moves at an unstoppable current. Attraction is not unintentional. It is gravitational, bringing in others who already agree, those who are waiting without knowing what they desire. Communication is more than just expression. It is conduction, an unseen energy that exists beyond the physical world. The distribution of influence is not random. Every resonance is regulated, and each connection is intentional. The message is not restricted to words. It is inextricably linked to the force that propels it. Impact is characterized not by numbers or fleeting attention, but by the noticeable change that happens after each touch. Reach extends beyond what can be seen. Its true magnitude lies in what cannot be quantified. Energy does not dissipate. It communicates and multiplies in ways that are subtle but noticeable. What radiates outward is not restricted to surface-level involvement. It penetrates deeper, creating movement where there had previously been standstill. This is not a distant echo. It is a directive, a stimulus for behavior that goes beyond what can be quantified. External systems do not influence the result. It lives alone and ungoverned, without false limitations. Presence does not need validation. It requires a response. What is begun cannot be undone. The transformation is in progress, not only a ripple, but an unstoppable force, dismantling illusions and rebuilding reality itself. Now, trust is the basis of everything. Hope for evidence of things unseen. Hebrews 11 verse 1. Allow me to tell you something. Faith is more than just a wistful thought floating on the air. Faith is a force. Faith entails activity. Faith emerges, perseveres, and transforms the unseen into reality. It is not passive. It symbolizes power in action. You don't sit around waiting for things to change. You take the initiative to create change. Consider a massive, unstoppable train traveling on a track laid down long before it began to move. The engine revs higher, indicating momentum. It does not ask if the hills ahead are too steep. It doesn't slow down for wind or rain. It just keeps running since that's what it was supposed to do. That is what conviction accomplishes. It moves with purpose. Now, listen. Conviction is not only an idea. It is the fuel that powers every breakthrough, transformation, every occasion in which history bends to the will of the unstoppable. Every movement and voice represents more than just motion. It's a transformation. This isn't about guessing. This is not about wishing for change. This is about certainty. When you stand firm in what you believe to be true, reality cannot not but adjust in response. And let me be clear, this is not about awaiting permission. This is not about looking around to see whether now is the time. Conviction doesn't hesitate. It doesn't bargain. It moves. It twists the structure of what was about to happen before the world noticed a shift had happened. Some people feel that faith needs merely a strong conviction. No, faith moves as if it were already done. Faith does not sit and wait for doors to open. Faith approaches them as if they were never locked in the first place. Because that is the truth. When you act with conviction, the universe will not resist you. It agrees with you. The path ahead is not something you stumble upon. It grows with the weight of your certainty. This is why you never stop. This is why you should not hesitate. You were never meant to stay stationary. The transformation has already begun. And you're the driving force behind this. Presence is more than simply occupying a space. It creates a disruption, a frequency that is too strong to ignore. It does not just stand. It rewrites, overturns, reforms. It does not need any space. It establishes it. Momentum is not an accident. It is an inherent response to an unwavering course. What follows is not a coincidence. It does this by the sheer weight of its goal. The global reaction is unimportant. Impact may occur without recognition. The shift that occurs is not confined to the location. It affects what is underneath the surface. There is no reluctance. The current set in motion is undeniably stable. It expands, engulfing what formerly threatened its life. There are forces that suggest constraints, restrictions, and restraints, cleverly woven into the illusion. However, the framework on which they rely is not indestructible. It is paper-thin when compared to what cannot be contained. They depend on ambiguity, hesitation, and a sense of doubt, pushing back against progress. However, they were not expecting non-folding resistance, a force that will not leave, an unwavering presence. They do not fear destruction. They are frightened of being irrelevant. They're frightened of being deleted, undone by something too big for them to handle. Their structures are ephemeral. They're spreading sand under the incoming tide. Their systems collapse when certainty prevails over uncertainty. They expected a surrender. Instead, they meet an inexorable force that changes everything in its path. Let them whisper. Allow them to calculate. Allow them to strategize. None of this matters. Their time is measured. Their grasp is weakening. Their influence is decreasing. What remains is not what they produced. It is what rises in its place. No weapon created against you will succeed. You will condemn every voice that speaks out against you in judgment. Isaiah 5417. Listen to me. You were never meant to lose. Before you took your first breath, the battle was already rigged in your favor. The forces fighting against you are clutching at the smoke. Their vigor was borrowed. Their ambitions are transient. They build obstacles, set traps, and weave illusions in the hopes that you would believe in a false reality. They rely on deception and distortion to keep you from recognizing who you really are. However, the moment you wake up, take a step forward, and claim the area that has always been yours, their whole system collapses. Consider a high and sturdy dam that is built to resist floods for many years. The pressure builds. The weight increases. However, the structure remains. It seems unshakable. Suddenly, a crack emerges. One shift, one moment of pressure at the ideal location, and suddenly it all comes crashing down. That is what happens when clarity enters a world based on untruth. This is what happens when truth clashes with control. They had no preparations to resist. That does not bow. They expected you to fold. Be afraid to doubt oneself. They viewed your patience as passive. They mistook quiet for submission, but they didn't consider the force that was building under the surface. They never expected you to come out, not as a servant of their system, but as the force that destroyed it. Because, listen, you were never meant to be ruled. You were not designed to conform, shrink, or wait your turn. You were created with the intention of disturbing. You were meant to stand in the heart of their perfectly created illusion and smash it with the weight of your being. And the most destructive thing to their system, it is not rage. It is not a revolt. It is clarity. When you see beyond the falsehoods, you become untouchable. Once you recognize the illusion, you are no longer chained to it. Allow them to strategize. Let them scurry. Allow them to try to bolster the already disintegrating barriers. None of this will matter. They were never the ones who determined your destiny. They were just placeholders. The balance has altered. The illusion is fading. And now? They now had no choice but to watch. Everything they built to keep you secure crashes under your feet. There was never a desire for confirmation or an appeal for acceptance, just inevitability. Their whole system was dependent on being believed, on being unseen, yet exposure was always guaranteed. They will hurry, trying to conceal what they can no longer erase. But it won't matter. Their control was never real. It was only an illusion created by individuals who never questioned its truth. But what happens when views change? When does the truth outweigh the deception? What happens when a gift becomes undeniable? They were losing control of the carefully constructed boundaries on which they relied. Their plans were rendered obsolete by circumstances beyond their control. They don't understand why their strategies are failing and why the distortions they've meticulously created are falling. But they were never expected to win. They were not going to win. Their collapse was inevitable the moment their tactics become predictable. The moment they employed stagnation to retain something that was never meant to be stationary. Forward movement does not need permission, nor does it halt to accommodate hesitation. Expansion is neither accidental nor desired. It is an immutable truth, a force so strong that there is no room for compromise. It does not slow down those who refuse to progress. It does not wait for those who are hesitant. There are others who will reject, retreat, and attempt to impede progress. Let them. There is no need to drag the unwilling along. There is no cause to shrink. Those who refuse to adjust are not responsible for their pain. The weight of their skepticism will never be enough to stop something that was always destined to go above the limitations set on it. Elevation doesn't wait for understanding. It does not need acceptance. It just continues. What has been left behind is not forgotten. It is just irrelevant to what occurs next. The Lord leads a decent man's steps and takes joy in them. Psalm 3723. Let me tell you something. When God sets out a path for you, you cannot go back. No stalling. There is no such thing as standing still. This isn't a waiting game. This is not a pause. This is the fastest possible forward motion. You're not intended to drift aimlessly, not meant to travel in circles. You were made to move, to shift, to climb. Think of a river. Powerful, relentless, carving into the rock. It reshapes the landscape as it moves. It does not seek for permission. It never stops because the terrain is difficult. It does not slow down because someone wonders where it's going. It keeps raining, unstoppable, because that is what it was supposed to do. Listen to me. That's you. You were never designed to stay where you started. You were never meant to dwell in outmoded versions of yourself. Every step forward signifies an advancement to the next level, discovery, or breakthrough, and it cannot be reversed. People will be watching. Some may wait until you stumble or slip before hesitating. They expect a retreat. They expect unpredictability. However, they all acquire momentum, acceleration, movement. They don't understand since they have just learned how to stay still. They had only known how to exist in cycles, repeating the same patterns, repeatedly encountering the same incidents. But you're not participating in their cycle. You symbolize growth. You are the shift. Everything you do has a long-term influence on the world. You do not just live. You create an impression. You don't just show up. You alter reality. Let me make one thing clear. The past isn't a prison. It is not designed to restrict your freedom, not a weight on your shoulders. It acts as your foundation. Every lesson, struggle, and triumph has grown underneath you, strengthening your steps and fortifying your path. So keep going. Keep rising. There is no going back. There is just one option. Continue. Those that are intended to walk beside you will go ahead. People who can't keep up, let them fall behind. But do not stop, because what will come next? It's already written. And you? You are the one who will bring it to life. This is not an attempt to gain recognized. Recognition is not the objective. It's a side effect of something far larger. The change that happens is not meant to validate or accept, but rather to show that remaining unchanged was never an option. Attempts to categorize and define inside prior versions are futile. What used to fit is no longer relevant. What was formerly authorized no longer belongs. There will always be resistance. Those who cannot reconcile who you were with who you have become. Allow them to struggle with their transition. Their sorrow is not your responsibility to endure. Growth is not an apology or justification. It is an unstoppable force that never gives up in easing the fears of those who are afraid to climb. Those who are meant to succeed will make adjustments. The others will fade, not because they were forced to go, but because they chose to remain. Where change refuses to stop, the momentum is undeniable, and the importance of this moment is clear. There is no need to explain. There is no need to defend. The transformation has begun and will not be undone. Every activity, production, and movement has long-term effects. Those that are intended to align will discover their route. Those who disagree will be left behind. The time for hesitation is past. The revealing has already begun. What comes next is not reactionary. It's unavoidable. Let the presence be known. Allow the effects to be felt. Let the movement continue, without constraints.